Okay, so we will start our discussion. Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna. So I would like to welcome all of you for today's session. So today we are going to start a new verse, the fourth verse of Manasiksha. So before we start the fourth verse, we will just try to do a brief recap of what we have already seen. Let me just add one more slide to this, and we will do a quick recap. Just hold on for a second. So uh, so we have been discussing for the last, interestingly, 34 weeks. So today is the 35th week. So last 34 weeks we have been discussing from this book Manasiksha, and we have covered uh, three verses. The first three verses of Manasiksha we have covered, and let's do a quick recap of what we have seen till now in the last 34 weeks. So in the first verse, I will just write it down. In verse 1, we discussed about गुरौ गोष्ठे गोष्ठालयिषु सुजने भूसुरगणे स्वमन्त्रे श्रीनाम्नि व्रजनवयुवद्वन्द्वशरणे सदा दम्बं हित्वा कुरुरतिम् अपूर्वाम् अतितराम् अये स्वान्तर्भ्रातश्चटुभिर् अभियाचे धृतपद. So in the first verse, Srila Raghunath Das Goswami says two things, right? First is that develop attraction to Vraja Krishna. This is the first point he says. So develop attraction. What kind of attraction? Apurvam Atitaram Rati. Apurvam Atitaram Rati means unprecedented, excessive attachment. So develop unprecedented, excessive attraction to Vraja Krishna. That is the first thing. He says, if you have this as your goal, then this book is for you. So if your goal of life is to develop a relationship with Krishna in Vrindavan, then this book is for you. So for that, how do you develop this unprecedented, excessive attachment to Krishna? How to develop? So he says, develop attraction to by developing attraction to the Tadya of Krishna. So what constitutes the Tadya of Krishna? He says Gurau. So Gurau means Shiksha and Diksha Guru, right? Goshte means Vrindavan. Goshtalayishu Goshtalayishu refers to Vrajavasis. Right? Gurau Goshte Goshtalayishu Sujane. Sujane means Vaishnavas. Other Vaishnavas who may not necessarily be Vrajavasis. And Bhusuragane. Bhusuragane means Brahmanas. Okay. Sujane Bhusuragane, then Swamantre. Swamantre means the Gayatri Mantra. And Shri Namni. Shri Namni means the holy name. And Vrajanavayuva Dvandva Sharane means the process of surrender to Radha and Krishna. So he says that in order to develop this unprecedented excessive attachment to Krishna, first you start developing unprecedented excessive attachment to the Tadiya of Krishna. Gurau, Goshte, Goshtalayishu, Sujane, Bhusuragane, Swamantre, Shri Namni, Vrajanavayuva Dvandva Sharane. So now the question is, is there an obstacle to developing this attachment? Is there an obstacle to developing this attachment? Yes. What is that obstacle? Our own material upadhis, designations. We already have our own material upadhis or designations, which actually, if we don't give up, how can we establish a newer relationship with with spiritual things? So how is it possible? It is not possible. So therefore, we have to give up our material designations. This is called as Sada Dambam Hitva. Right? So one has to give up our material designations in order to actually develop this unprecedented attachment. So how we are, so this Sada Dambam Hitva, giving up our material designations or giving up the material obstacles, this actually is briefly mentioned in the first verse, but this will be elaborated in verses 4 to 7. So verses 4 to 7 will discuss on this theme of Sada Dambam Hitva. How can we give up this materialistic pride? How can we give up these materialistic designations? Right? So that is what we will start seeing from today. Starting from the grossest obstacle to the subtlest obstacle, all the obstacles will be covered in the next 4 verses, starting from 4th verse, right? So this is the essence of the first verse, which talks about, if you are a Gaudiya Vaishnava, then your goal should be to develop attraction to Vrindavan Krishna, and that attraction should be unprecedented and excessive. And how to develop that attraction? By developing attraction to the Tadiya of Krishna, Gurau, Goshte, Goshtalayishu, these 8 things. So we had if you remember long time back, we discussed how do you develop attraction to these 8 things, some practical suggestions you all came up with. Those of you who have been in our discussion from the very first week onwards. So you had shared various points how to develop that attraction to Guru, Vrindavan, Vrajavasis, the Vaishnavas, Brahmanas, one's own mantra, the holy name, and the process of surrender. So we had an elaborate discussion on this topic, right? And to the obstacle to developing this attachment is actually our own material upadhis, which are described as dambam, and which will be elaborated in verse number 4 to 7. So just hold on for a second. I will just add few more slides. So so next he says in the next verse, in the second verse of Manasiksha, Srila Raghunath Das Goswami says that na dharmam na dharmam shrutigana niruktam kilakuru vraje radha krishna prachura paricharyam ihatanu sachi sunu nandishwara pati sutatve guruvaram mukunda preshtatve smaranama tadatvam shrunumana. So he says that, so this verse talks about change of paradigm of thinking, feeling, willing, acting, right? So it says change the paradigm of your thinking, feeling, willing, acting. So how was, if you are a dharmic person, then our thinking, feeling, willing, acting is on the platform of dharmasya sankalpo, adharmasya varjanam, right? Accept whatever is dharma according to my varna and ashrama, and reject whatever is adharma according to my varna and ashrama. Or if you are a materialistic person, right? So this is one. If you are a materialistic person, then your thinking, feeling, willing, and acting acts on the platform of raga sankalpo, dvesha varjanam. Whatever I like, I will accept. Whatever I don't like, I will reject, right? So basically, Raghunath Das Goswami is telling us, look, stop acting on these platforms and change your paradigm of thinking, feeling, willing, and acting. So what should be the paradigm of my action? He says, for a Gaudiya Vaishnava, he says, Vraje Radha Krishna Prachura Paricharyam Ihatanu. So, Anukulyasya Sankalpo, Pratikulyasya Varjanam. Whatever is favorable for pleasing Radha and Krishna and Vrindavan, I will accept it. Whatever is unfavorable for pleasing Radha and Krishna and Vrindavan, I will reject it. So basically, this is the change of paradigm that Raghunath Das Goswami is wanting us to make. So this is the next step. Now that you are trying to establish a relationship with things related to Krishna, people related to Krishna, dham related to Krishna, and you are trying to slowly give up your materialistic designations, also start making a change in your thinking, feeling, willing, and acting. If you are a dharmic person, you don't become adharmic, but rather than thinking what is dharma, what is adharma, start thinking in terms of what will please Krishna, what will displease Krishna, like that. And then the second point that he mentions is the role of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Guru in establishing relationship with Radha and Krishna and Vrindavan. So what is the role of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Guru in establishing a relationship with Radha and Krishna? So he says, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Radha Krishna Nahi Anya. He is non-different from Radha and Krishna. Radha Bhava Dyuti Suvalitam Naumi Krishna Swarupam. So he is Krishna only who has come in the complexion and mood of Radharani. And for Gaudiya Vaishnavas, the means to approach service to Radha and Krishna in Vrindavan is only through Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So worship of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is not only favorable, but it is absolutely mandatory. And it is the only means of actually approaching the worship of Radha and Krishna in Vrindavan for Gaudiya Vaishnavas. Right? And what is the role of Guru? So the role of Guru is Param Mukunda Preshtatve. He says that don't just see your Guru as a bona fide representative of the Guru Shishya Parampara, but start seeing Guru as the dearmost intimate servant of Radha and Krishna. Right? So that way, he is the one who is going to make you the connection with Radha and Krishna and Vrindavan. So therefore, he is requesting this change of perception. So he is indicating here that worship of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and worship of Guru is absolutely mandatory and critical actually in establishing a relationship with Radha and Krishna and Vrindavan. Right? So this is the second verse in which he is requesting the practitioner to change one's paradigm of thinking, feeling, willing, and acting. Right? And he's also indicating that we include as very important aspects the worship of Radha and Krishna, worship of Guru and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in our aspiration to establish a relationship with Radha and Krishna and Vrindavan. So this is the second verse that we saw. Then the third verse that we discussed is Yadicher avasam vrajabhuvi saragam pratijanur yuvadvandvam tachet paricharitum arad abhilashe swarupam shri rupam saganamiha tasyagrajamapi sputam premna nityam smaranama tadatvam shrunumana. So he says that is Vrajabhakti possible through other paramparas, Diksha and Siksha. So this is the point that he is addressing here. Is it possible to get Vrajabhakti through Diksha and Siksha from any other parampara other than our parampara? The answer is no, not possible. Right? So at least we cannot get the kind of bhakti that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to give, the exact mood that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to give. Because every parampara, its teachings and siksha is meant to nourish their goal. So if a parampara's goal is actually to encourage their followers to go to Vaikuntha, their shiksha will also nourish that aspiration for that goal only. So therefore, it is very clear, Raghunath Das Goswami is not mincing words here. He is very clear in mentioning that no, it is not possible. So then how is it possible? He says, Swarupam, Shri Rupam, Saganam, Iha, Tasya, Agrajam, Api. It is only possible through the association of Swarupam, Swarup Damodar Goswami, Srila Rupa Goswami, Srila Sanatan Goswami and their associates. So what does it mean to associate with them? So what does it mean to associate with them? Taking shelter of their writings. So if he says, Yadicher avasam vrajabhuvi sa ragam pratijanur. If you want to if you want to stay in Vrindavan, life after life, with great love, which is very similar to the love that the Vrajavasis possess towards Krishna, and Yuvadvandam tachet paricharitum arad abhilashe. And if you desire to stay very near to Radha and Krishna and serve them, then the only means that is possible, that is available, is you have to take shelter of the writings of the 6 Goswamis and their followers. So if you don't, then it is not at all possible, because we saw that the Panchatattva came, broke open the storehouse of Krishna Prem, and whoever was there at that time they distributed, and then they left. But what about those who were, what about the posterity? What about those people or devotees who joined the parampara later? What is the means for them to attain that same Krishna Prem? That is through the teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, which has come through the writings of the 6 Goswamis. So they give a systematic paddhati, or a systematic step-by-step procedure to attain that Krishna Prema. So that is why here Raghunath Das Goswami is not even telling that if you want to achieve that kind of love that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to give, he does not even say, you should worship Panchatattva. Rather, he says you should worship, you should remember and repeatedly offer obeisances to the 6 Goswamis, he says, which means because they have given the actual. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came for 2 purposes: Prema Rasa Niryasa Karite Aswadan, Raga Marga Bhakti Loke Karite Pracharan. He wanted to himself taste the kind of love that the Vrajavasis have towards him, especially Srimati Radharani. And he also wanted to distribute it. So the distribution aspect of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission was established by the 6 Goswamis through their writings. That is why Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale. So that sthapana, that establishing the mission of Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in spreading this Prema Rasa, in spreading this Raga Marga Bhakti, has been carried out by the writings of the 6 Goswamis. So therefore, in this 3rd verse, he establishes that the means to attain the goal which Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has come to establish on this planet Earth is only through the writings of our Acharyas, starting with the 6 Goswamis. So in this way, in 3 verses, very critical aspects of our own practice, I mean, the very, very foundational aspects of our own practice have been established by Raghunath Das Goswami. And here, at least here, we cannot afford to make any mistakes. We cannot seek siksha from other places, right? This is one very important point. And concerning the 2nd verse, we saw that, and I cannot start thinking and thinking in terms of dharma, adharma. I should start thinking in terms of anukulyasya sankalpo pratikulyasya varjanam, and also I should consider worshipping and meditating on Guru and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as integral aspects of my own practice of sadhana bhakti. And from the first verse, he says that give up your material upadhis gradually and gradually try to develop intense, unprecedented attachment to things, people, and places connected to Krishna. So this is like actually a lifetime's exercise which Srila Raghunath Das Goswami has given to us in the first 3 verses only. These are like very gradually and with a lot of introspection and endeavor, conscious endeavor, we will have to address these aspects actually. And once we are doing this, then when we start practicing our sadhana bhakti, then we will encounter various kinds of obstacles, and how to overcome those obstacles is what Srila Raghunath Das Goswami is going to explain from 4th verse onwards to the next 4 verses, 4, 5, 6, 7. So these 4 verses. So that's what we are going to see today. But before we start that, if there are any quick comments, questions, discussions based on the recap that we have done today, or based on whatever the 34 weeks of discussion that we have done based on the first 3 verses of Manasiksha, if you want to share some thoughts, some reflections, or if you have some comments, questions, so I'll wait till you raise your hands, and then we will move forward to the 4th verse. So if you have any quick comments, questions, or discussions, or some reflections that you may want to share, you can please raise your hands. Anyone? Okay, so I don't see any hands up, so I think we will move forward to today's verse. We will chant the verse together. Asadvarta veshya visrujamati sarvasvaharani kata mukti vyagrya nashrunu kila sarvatmagilani api tyaktva lakshmipatiratimito vyomanayani vraje radha krishnau swarati mani dautvam bhajamana. So in this verse, Srila Raghunath Das Goswami is talking about 3 gross obstacles to our practice of sadhana bhakti. What are the 3 gross obstacles? So first thing he says is asad varta. Asad varta means mundane talks, prajalpa. He is comparing it to veshya. Veshya means prostitute. So asadvarta veshya, and what this asadvarta veshya does? Visrija mati. Visrija mati sarvasva harani. He says visrija. He says, please give up this asadvarta veshya. Please give up this prostitute of mundane talks. Why? Because mati sarvasva harani. It will completely plunder our intelligence. So this is the first point he says. Then next thing he says is kata mukti vyagrya. Vyagrya means a tigress. Vyagra means a tiger. Vyagrya means a tigress. So it is mentioned that a tigress, a female tiger, is much more aggressive and dangerous than a male tiger, because a male tiger, he will hunt whenever he is hungry, and when he is not hungry, he is very peaceful, right? A female tiger will hunt whenever she is hungry whenever her children are hungry, and she will hunt to protect her children also. So she has multiple reasons to be aggressive. So she is always aggressive because anytime a predator can come and attack the tiger kids, the cubs, right? So therefore he says that it is very difficult to escape the attack of a female tiger, a tigress. So he says Kata Mukti Vyagrya. So what he is comparing to a dangerous female tigress or a tigress, he says Mukti Kata. Mukti Kata means the glories of liberation. He says Na Shruno, please do not hear. Kata Mukti Vyagrya Na Shruno. What will happen if we hear topics concerning Mukti and glories of Mukti? He says, Kila Sarvatma Gilani. Certainly, it will devour our soul. Because the nature of our soul, the original constitutional position of our soul is Jivera Swarubhoy Krishnera Nityadas. Is the servant of Krishna. But if we hear this Mukti Katha and get inspired by this Mukti Katha, and if we start aspiring for progressing on the path of Mukti, then it will very soon lead to our disinterest in re-establishing ourselves in our constitutional position. So the soul's dharma, the soul's true dharma will not be realized. That Krishnera Nityadas, he will not be able to realize the Nitya Dasatva with Krishna if one is after this Mukti Katha. So he says, Na Shruno, please do not hear. And then the third is actually very shocking. The third obstacle that he says is very shocking and interesting. He says, Api Tyaktva Lakshmi Pati Vratim. This is an obstacle. He says, Api Tyaktva, you should also give up Lakshmi Pati Ratim. Give up your attachment to the husband of Lakshmi, Shri Narayan. I said, what kind of an obstacle is this? Right? This is very interesting. This is very intriguing actually. Why would Raghunath Das Goswami ask or request a sadhaka to give up attachment to Lakshmi and Narayan? Right? He says, why? Ito Vyomanayanim. If you become too attached to them, they will kidnap you to Vrindavan. They will kidnap you to Vaikunta. And you will land up in Vaikunta and you will be wondering, what happened to my aspiration to go to Vrindavan? Goloka Vrindavan. So he says, if you become attached to worshipping them, rather than developing your attachment to serving Radha and Krishna and Vrindavan, don't be surprised if you are kidnapped to Vaikunta. So that is what he says. Apityaktva Lakshmi Patiratim ito Vyomanayanim. So rather, so he is not telling don't worship Lakshmi Narayan. He says you may worship, if you get an opportunity, you can worship them. But your attachment should be to worship Radha and Krishna. So if you get an opportunity to worship Lakshmi Narayan, you worship them because they are most worshipable. There is no doubt about it. But your deepest hankering and yearning should be to worship Radha and Krishna and Vrindavan. So your attachment to worship should be towards Radha and Krishna and Vrindavan. That is what he is indicating. That is the third point. So Apityaktva Lakshmi Patiratim. Give up your attachment to the husband of, to worship the husband of Lakshmi, Shri Narayana. So what I should do? He says, Vraje Radha Krishnau Swarati Manidau Tvam Bhajamana. So Vraje, stay in Vrindavan. Instead he says, look, don't go elsewhere, just stay in Vrindavan. And while staying in Vrindavan, what I should do? Radha Krishnau Bhajamana. Oh mind, stay in Vrindavan and worship Radha and Krishna. Why I should worship Radha and Krishna? What is so special about worshipping Radha and Krishna? He says, Swarati Mani Dau. Dau means they give. What do they give? If you worship them, Swarati Mani, they will bestow you with the jewel of their own love. So their own love, they will personally bestow it to you. You don't do anything else. Just stay in Vrindavan and worship Radha and Krishna. And in some time, you will see that they will personally bestow uh, uh, love towards them to you. So in this fourth verse, he is talking about three gross obstacles. One in the form of Prajalpa, another in the form of Muktikata, and the third in the form of attachment to worshipping forms other than Radha and Krishna of Vrindavan. So this is what in essence this verse says. Now we will see the explanation of this verse in detail through first starting with the commentary by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, the Bhajan Darpan commentary. So we will start with that, right? So first he talks about Asad Varta Veshya Visrija Mati Sarvasva Harani. Give up this mundane gossip because it is like a prostitute who plunders the treasure of the heart. Okay. So first we will discuss about this obstacle of Prajalpa. So here Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, just as a prostitute takes away wealth and everything else from an immoral person, material gossip plunders one's intelligence. So it will plunder one's intelligence, which means it may even happen that our desire to serve Krishna, our appreciation to serve Krishna may change by this kind of material gossiping. The only wealth of a living being is discriminating intelligence that has spiritual attainment as the goal of life. This is a very important point. The greatest valuable wealth is, in essence, he says, Shuddha Bhakti Shraddha. Okay. So Shuddha Bhakti Shraddha and a discriminating intelligence. Right? So which says Anukulyasya Sankalpo Pratikulyasya Varjanam. What is favorable for progress, what is unfavorable for progressing on the path of devotional service. So that is our greatest wealth. Our only wealth is faith in the practice of pure devotional service and an intelligence which guides us as to what is right and what is wrong in order to attain that goal of Shuddha Bhakti, which is Krishna Prema. In contrast, any material gossip in relation to sense enjoyment or any other kind of connection to sense enjoyment is all temporary and useless. It will just misguide us and distract us from attaining the ultimate goal. So now he says, even lessons in Shastra which promote greed for more wealth, sexual pleasure, or connection with people who are attached to sex are all asat, temporary, material, and useless. So he says, it may be Shastras also. So that is why, if you see, Shastras are, we have a generic faith in all Shastras. Right? So they are very valuable guidelines. and they are directly from Krishna. Even the karma part or the jnana part or the yoga part and the bhakti part, they all are apaurushaya knowledge only. They are not man-made. They are made by Krishna only. So we have a generic faith in all the Shastras, but we have specific faith. Specific faith means for personal following. So we have that specific faith only in Bhakti Shastras. Right? So this is what in 11th canto Krishna says, Shraddham Bhagavate Shastre Anindam Anyatra Chapi He says, Shraddham Bhagavate Shastre. We should have faith in those Shastras which glorify Bhagavan, Bhakti and Bhakta, or those Shastras which enhance our appreciation of the conclusions of Srimad Bhagavatam. But at the same time, Anindam Anyatra Chapihi. We should not have a critical attitude towards the Karma Shastras, Jnana Shastras, Yoga Shastras, because we understand that for those who do not have pure devotional faith, those Shastras are relevant. It may not be relevant for our own practice. So therefore, just because, and we should understand that apart from Bhagavatam, not even all the Puranas, not all the Puranic stories may have a pure devotional conclusion. So therefore, those Puranas and books which our own Acharyas have not generally commented upon, it is not very safe to actually study them, because their conclusions may not necessarily be pure devotional. Their conclusions, for example, in Vishnu Puran, one of the famous verses that is quoted from Vishnu Puran is Varnashrama Acharavata Purushena Parappuman Vishnur Aradhyate Panta Nanyat Tattosha Karanam. So that particular verse actually says that it is impossible to please Vishnu if you don't do two things. One is worship him, and second is perform your Varnashrama duties. He says, if you don't do these two things, it is impossible to please Vishnu. So this verse is there. This is there in Vishnu Puran. But quoting this verse, our Acharyas in Bhakti Rasam Sindhu explain, this verse in Vishnu Puran is meant as an instruction for a Karma Mishra Bhakta or a Karma Yogi. So how would we know? Right? There could be many stories in other Puranas which may not necessarily be meant as an instruction, as an instructive story for practicing pure devotees. Okay. So therefore, we should ideally we should stick to those literatures which our own Acharyas have commented upon, because we can be sure that it will nourish my aspiration to attain the goal of Goloka Vrindavan. Like, to what extent our Acharyas are very specific, if you see, actually, if you, some of you might know that there is a book called Garga Samhita. So Garga Samhita is a bona fide book which has been written by Gargacharya. And in Garga Samhita, if you see, it has complete Vrindavan pastimes of Krishna only. So it has nothing other than Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavan as observed by Gargacharya. But interestingly, our Gaudiya Vaishnava Acharyas never quote from Garga Samhita. So there are quotes from many other books. They quote from Hari Bhakti Sudhoday, they quote from Vishnu Dharmottara. Many other books they quote different things. But interestingly, they almost never quote from Garga Samhita. Not that it is not a bona fide literature. It is definitely a bona fide literature. But the reason is that in Garga Samhita, Gargacharya is no doubt sharing pastimes of Vrindavan, but Gargacharya's vision is to some extent filled with awe and reverence. So therefore, when he observes and writes the pastimes of Krishna happening in Vrindavan, it is subtly mixed with his mood of awe and reverence, which may not be very favorable for developing or nourishing our mood of love towards Radha and Krishna in Vrindavan. I mean, this can be, someone who hears this might think that, oh, this is too sectarian. Someone may think, array, this is such a sectarian thing, you know, you can't be so specific, so choosy. But if our goal is very specific and we want a very generic means of attainment, then it is not reasonable. Then if we have a generic goal, then we can have a generic means of attainment of that goal. But if we have a specific goal, then it is unreasonable to expect that there will be a generic path of attaining that goal. Yatoma tatopad. That's what Prabhupada says. That will not work, right? Where do you want to go? You don't say spiritual world. You say Goloka Vrindavan. Why don't you generically say it does not really matter? I can go to the Vaikunta in which Narsingadev stays, or Varahadev stays, or Matsya stays, or Narayana, or the Chaturvyuha. In really, it does not really matter. Send me anywhere. If that is our goal, no problem. Then you practice, take little bit from Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya, little bit from Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya, little bit from Madhva Sampradaya, little bit from Vallabha Sampradaya. Anything will work. But if our goal is very specific, then the means to attain that goal is also very specific, right? So, therefore, he says, even lessons, this is Bhaktivinoda Thakur writing, interestingly. Even lessons in Shastra which promote greed for more wealth, sexual pleasure, or connection with people who are attached to sex are all asat, temporary, material, and useless. Any process that increases one's association with and attachment for temporary useless objects is called asadvarta. So anything that increases one's association with and attachment for temporary useless objects is called as asadvarta. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur elsewhere he calls it as asat trishna. So asat trishna means greed to enjoy material objects. So how does this asat trishna increase? In his book called Bhajana Rahasya, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, this greed to enjoy material objects increases in 6 ways, which you all know, okay, which are all, in one sense, you can say which all fall within the category of prajalpa to some extent. Okay, how? So what are the 6 ways in which asat trishna increases? He says first is atyahara, right? If you get an opportunity to eat or collect, if we end up overeating or over collecting, then it increases our greed to enjoy that object more and more. Asat trishna, right? Then the second way is prayasa. If we over endeavor to achieve those material things, because we have endeavored too much, then we definitely want to squeeze out the last drop of enjoyment that is available from that particular object. So therefore, over endeavoring to attain it also increases our greed to enjoy those material objects. Atyahara prayasascha, and the third thing is prajalpa. So prajalpa also enhances. It enhances our desire to enjoy material things, because the more we speak about it, the more we want to go take the next step. When we speak, then the next step after speak is meditating. Then after meditating, dhyato vishayan pumsas sangasteshu pajayate, we develop attachment. Then after attachment, sangat sanjayate kama, a deep desire to enjoy it. And then we start endeavoring to enjoy it, and then we enjoy it like that. So atyahara prayasascha prajalpo niyamagraha. So niyamagraha also increases our desire to enjoy material objects. How? Niyamagraha means whimsically rejecting the rules and regulations. So someone may say, oh, look, it does not, ultimately, I have to develop love for Krishna, that is most important. Rest is all external. So it does not really matter even if I eat outside, because ultimately I have to remember Krishna, right? But if I'm meditating always on I should not eat outside, I should not eat outside, then that is just hampering my meditation on Krishna. I might as well eat outside and just think of Krishna. Someone may think like that. So all these other rules and regulations are only secondary and immaterial. So if one whimsically rejects those secondary rules or the rules, then like Vishayira anna kaila malina haiman malinamana hai Krishna na hoy smaran. So if we eat Vishayira anna, or food cooked by non-devotees, then our heart becomes contaminated, and malinamana hai na hoy Krishnera smaran. Then we cannot remember Krishna actually. So if we whimsically reject the niyamas, that can also potentially lead to enhancement of asat trishna, greed to enjoy material objects. And of course, the other aspect of niyamagraha is to be so attached to following the rules that one forgets the principle of remembering Krishna. Then the whole point is defeated, right? So atyahara prayasascha prajalpo niyamagraha. Then the fifth point is janasanga. Janasanga means associating with non-Krishna conscious people. So this does not need much explanation. This is the quickest way of actually developing desire to enjoy things of this world. Janasangascha laulyam. Laulyam again refers to greed. Someone just typed that they are not able to hear the sound. Others are able to hear or not? I just received in the chat box, someone has typed that sound is not there. Are others able to hear the sound? Yeah, okay. Yeah, others are able to hear. So maybe there is a problem with, yeah, Rangaraj Krishna Prabhu, I think you have a maybe problem is with your own speaker. Okay. So, yeah. So, janasangascha laulyamcha. So, basically, this asat trishna, greed to enjoy material objects, is enhanced through all these 6 things, and prajalpa is one of them. But so any process, but here Bhaktivinoda Thakur describes prajalpa in a more generic way. He says any process that increases one's association with and attachment for temporary useless objects is called asatvarta. So asatvarta in essence means prajalpa. But Bhaktivinoda Thakur gives a more generic uh, explanation of this, which is anything that will increase one's association with and attachment to temporary useless objects of this world is asadvarta. So if that is asadvarta, then what falls within this category of asadvarta, according to Bhaktivinoda Thakur's explanation from Bhajana Rahasya, is actually all these six things: atyahara, prayasascha, prajalpo, niyamagraha, janasangascha, laulyamcha, shadbir, bhaktir, vinashyati. So if we want to slowly decrease our greed to enjoy material objects, then we have to work on all these six aspects. So that is what here we can see, right? So Prajalpa includes, according to this definition of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Prajalpa includes all these six things. So regarding Krishna conscious intelligence, Mati, because he says here Mati Sarvasva Harani, right? Mati Sarvasva Harani means it plunders one's intelligence, or it plunders one's faith only, actually. So Sri Ramananda Rai has said the following thing. Okay, we generally attribute it to Srila Rupa Goswami. This is in Srila Rupa Goswami's Padyavali, but this was originally written by Srila Ramananda Rai, and Rupa Goswami added it, compiled it in his own Padyavali. He says, Krishna Bhakti Rasa Bhavita Matihi. Matihi means intelligence, right? Krishna Bhakti Rasa Bhavita means an intelligence which is absorbed in Krishna Bhakti Rasa, right? An intelligence which is absorbed in Krishna Bhakti Rasa, he says, Yadi Labhyate, if it is available in market, if you can somehow purchase absorption of one's intelligence in Krishna Bhakti Rasa, he says, Kriyatam, purchase it, Kutopi, by hook or crook, by whatever means possible, somehow purchase it if it is available in market. It is available only in the association of devotees. So basically it means do whatever you can to come in touch with devotees and stay in the association of devotees. So that is the meaning of Krishna Bhakti Rasa Bhavita Matihi Kriyatam Yadi Kutopi Labhyate. So Krishna Bhakti Rasa Bhavita Matihi means International Society for Krishna Consciousness. So Krishna Bhakti Rasa Bhavita Mati is Krishna consciousness, actually, right? Kriyatam Yadi Kutopi Labhyate, if it is available in the market, do whatever is possible, you try to purchase it. So it is because it is available only in the association of devotees, Prabhupada created International Society for Krishna Consciousness, because that is where you can do this process of Kriyatam, purchasing. So the product is available there, and the money needed to purchase that product is also available there. So you don't have to do anything. So they will give you the money and they will give you the product also to purchase it. So the product and the means to attain that product are available. So therefore, Prabhupada created is International Society for Krishna Bhakti Rasa Bhavita Mati, Krishna consciousness. Kriyatam Yadi Kutopi Labhyate. If it is available, somehow or other, acquire it, purchase it without delay. And what do you need to purchase it? He says, Tatra laulyam api mulyam ekalam. Mulyam. Mulyam means the money. What is the money to purchase it? Ekalam. There is only one currency to purchase it. What is that? Laulyam. Laulyam means greed. You should have the greed to purchase that Krishna Bhakti Rasa Bhavita Mati. So now, so the means is greed. Okay. And the product is Krishna consciousness. Where is greed available? In the association. In the association of other greedy people, you can also get that greed. Once you get that greed, where is the product available? In association. Right? So, therefore, Prabhupada created this International Society for Krishna Consciousness, where you can acquire the greed, which is the currency to purchase the product, and the product is also available there only, right? Krishna Bhakti Rasabhavita Mati Kriyatam Yadi Kutopi Labhyate Tatra Laulyam Api Mulyam Ekalam Janma Koti Sukritair Na Labhyate. How can I get this Mulyam? How can I get this greed? This greed cannot be attained by millions of years of accumulation of pious credits, piety. Janma Koti Sukritair Na Labhyate. You, by millions of years of living a pious, millions of lifetimes of living a pious life, you cannot get greed to get Krishna consciousness. But Lavamatra Sadhu Sangha Sarva Siddhi Hoy. But just by a moment's association, one can get, if one may not get greed, but one can get the raw material for developing that greed, which is Agyata Sukriti. Even a moment's association with a devotee can help one acquire that Agyata Sukriti, which can act as the raw material to develop that greed in future. So therefore, this verse, they say, was Prabhupada's actually inspiration to name the society International Society for Krishna Consciousness. Krishna Bhakti Rasabhavita Matihi Kriyatam Yadi Kutopi Labhyate. So if you have an opportunity, you should memorize this verse, because inspired by this verse, Prabhupada named the society International Society for Krishna Consciousness. Because the means, the laulyam and the product Krishna Bhakti Rasa Bhavita Mati is available in association only. Kriyatam Yadi Kutopi Labhyate. Like that. So, this is what here Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur is quoting, that any process so that increases one's association with an attachment for temporary useless objects is called asadvarta. And this asadvarta can steal one's Krishna conscious intelligence. So how valuable is that Krishna conscious intelligence? He quotes this verse. Krishna Bhakti Rasabhavita Matihi Kriyatam Yadi Kutopi Labhyate Tatra Laulyam Api Mulyam Ekalam Janma Koti Sukritairna Labhyate. That is the potency of association. So this is a very brief discussion he gives about Prajalpa in this Bhajan Darpan commentary. But what we are going to do is we are going to discuss from Bhaktyaloka also. So Bhaktyaloka, we will see what is Bhaktyaloka, but before that, based on whatever we have discussed in the last 20-25 minutes about the second verse, about the fourth verse that we have been discussing, if there are any quick comments, questions, discussions, some thoughts that you might want to share, hands, and we will have a discussion. Any questions, comments? You can please raise your hands. Okay, so I hope you all are awake. Okay, there is one hand up. Madhavi Gopi Mataji, I'm unmuting you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Yes.
All this discussion is very nice and very enlightening, really. I just had one small confusion that when we discussed that Prajalpa is regarding means whatever aspect or whatever thing which is related to sense gratification, right?
Mm-hmm.
Means that's
Yeah.
what I understood. If
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
have understood it clearly.
Yeah.
So there are certain things which we as a devotee also we need to do,
Mm-hmm.
which are not directly related to Krishna, but at the same time they are not related. That's for what I understand to sense gratification also.
Can you
Like
give some example, Mataji?
like see now material teaching we give to our children.
Mm-hmm.
So that is not in any way taking them near to Krishna. So
Okay, material
whatever
teaching means like physics, chemistry, biology, like that.
like we enroll our children for taking any degree, whether
Yeah.
it may be engineering, medical, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So in that case, whatever comes along with it
Mm-hmm.
is not just enrolling the children. Then you have to be part of their meetings, you have to be part of their whatever goes on politics in the college, or then you have to guide the child accordingly that okay, whatever is there, but you have to be in this mood or what. So this in no way is related to Krishna.
Directly.
And at the same time, see, I can't see it totally related to sense gratification. Yes, whatever money will be earned after learning and taking a job based on this teaching will be used for own maintenance. But that maintenance cannot be always termed as sense gratification. So I'm
Correct.
confused.
Correct. Yeah, actually, you have rightly said, Mataji, that we do have to do the needful. Like children do need to have get an education to establish themselves uh, properly, because if children right from the beginning are completely convinced of the path of devotional service, then it's a different thing. But generally, a child is not so um, you can say developed, um, the child does not have that kind of a developed intelligence. So whether he really has uh, complete deep rooted faith in pure devotional service, it's very difficult to conclude early. So basic education and all that we do have to give our children, and eventually when they become adults and mm, they themselves develop that firm rooted faith in the process of devotional service, then uh, then they can take a choice. Otherwise, if we don't send them to school, if we don't give them basic education, uh, then eventually we may just try to give them some Krishna conscious um, orientation. But after some time, whether they will take up to Krishna consciousness or not immediately, we do not know actually, because the child who has come to our house, how much sukriti he already has, uh, how much pure bhaktionmukhi sukriti he has, we do not know. And whether we have the capacity to enhance that child's agyat sukriti to such a level that in this lifetime only he will take up to practicing pure devotional service also, we do not know. So therefore, it is always a little bit of a risky proposition if we do not give them at least the basic facility to establish themselves with some basic profession. So I don't think that would fall within the category of sense gratification. If we do it in the right consciousness, then definitely doing that bare minimum is definitely needed. And I don't think anyone is even recommend. Even Bhaktivinoda Thakur gave proper education to all his children, and he himself was a magistrate. So, so the basic education was given by even Bhaktivinoda Thakur to his children even during those days. So then, what to speak of uh, what to speak of in today's day and age. Definitely, that bare minimum we will have to do. I don't think that falls within the category of Prajal. That's my understanding.
Okay, Guruji. Because
Is
as
there okay?
you really very rightly said, means this discussion was really very helpful for me specifically because means whatever we can't expect our children to be at the level of devotion what we are, and we can try to do whatever we maximum can do, get some service done from them or give them prasad or means try to enhance their interest in hearing and reading.
Mhm.
But how much they will take up,
Yeah,
that
and
becomes really means questionable issue, and
we don't
sometimes
even
it is.
know whether the means that, yeah, we don't even know whether the means that we are using is actually inspiring them or demotivating them. So when they come to a particular age, actually you may see that they have become completely anti-Krishna conscious, even though the father is a devotee, mother is a devotee, and then somehow you see that the child has developed aversion towards Krishna consciousness. So that may also happen, because
Yes, yes,
in all good with all good desire, the parents may try to inculcate Krishna consciousness in their children, but they may do it with they may end up doing it with insufficient sensitivity, not trying to understand whether the child is liking or not. They may be thrusting it upon the throat of the child. So eventually the child may actually develop a negative inclination towards Krishna consciousness also. So, so I think only time will answer over a period of time.
yeah, and each jiva has come with a different sukruti, even though we are staying under one roof. So we can't
Correct, correct.
really say. We have to
Yeah,
accept whatever. Like even in Prabhupada's house, not everybody was devout. So what
yeah,
are means,
correct,
where are
correct.
we?
That is why the seed of devotion is an individual seed only. It is not a family seed. It's not that one seed per family. When that seed is sown, the whole family will become Krishna conscious. It is not like that. It is always an individual seed. There could be cases where the the husband is a devotee but wife is not a devotee, or wife is a devotee, husband is not a devotee, or husband and wife are devotees but children don't turn up to be devotees. It could be, you may see some very wonderful cases where husband is a devotee, wife is a devotee, and children are devotees. The extended family also become devotees, and it is like Jedina Grihe Bhajana Deki Grihete Goloka Bai. They all come together, discuss Krishna consciousness, have Krishna Kirtan, and then the house is just like a Goloka Vrindavan, like that, as Bhaktivinoda Thakur says. But but it is always a gamble. You never know. So yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, Mataji.
Okay. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Leela Manjari Mataji, I am unmuting you, Mataji.
Prabhuji,
Yes, Mataji.
this class, uh, if Prajalpa includes all six, and if
Uh-huh.
Madhuri Gopi Mataji's question is there, then at the age of, I'm touching 50 now, but at this age I'm studying some new chapters in my life that is like, they are not at all related to Krishna consciousness. They are absolutely on the material platforms, like, it's related to cancer and what the biopsy. So I was really thinking, I'm studying this material knowledge and putting all 100% of sincerity in studying those as compared to studying Shastras. So would it not be counted under Prajalpa?
Uh, it is, um, it's a very specific question, Mataji. Actually, I mean, there is much more to your question uh, than what others may even understand. Because if I give a direct answer to your question, it may confuse people, because your situation is quite different. Uh, uh, like, I mean, it's up to you to decide whether it is becoming uh, prayas, over endeavor, at the cost of your own spiritual life, that you are not able to give sufficient time to your family, you are not able to give sufficient time to your basic sadhana, and you are not able to give sufficient time to your basic upkeep of your health also, then probably you might have to think whether at this stage you might want to do it. So it's a one-on-one thing. I don't want to give a blanket answer to your question,
Right.
but situations are different, and definitely it is not possible for you to uh, uh, describe your situation in all its details in this forum also.
Right. Right.
So I think it's an individual case to case basis. You have to consider all these things uh, to actually come to a conclusion whether it is going in the direction of prayas, or maybe should I be satisfied with a uh, little less endeavor in this direction and little more endeavor in direct Krishna conscious activities. That is a call that you need to uh, discuss with other senior devotees who might be guiding you, and take a call, because this is not a forum in which a blanket answer can be given to this very specific situation of yours.
Yes. 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 Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mata. Srinivas Prasad Prabhu, I am unmuting you, Prabhu. Yes, Prabhu.
Am I audible, Prabhuji?
Yes, Prabhu, you are audible.
Prabhuji, kindly accept my humble obeisance. My question is related to the previous question which Mataji was asking.
Mm-hmm.
So, in that regard, can you kindly guide us further that what should be our approach while dealing with our children? Like even if they are not practicing devotional life in a way like parents do,
Mm-hmm.
but there are deep impressions and they have that knowledge which we can see at
Mhm.
times that they have those deep rooted impressions, and so but they may not be practicing devotion, like they may not be chanting 16 rounds or doing all other activities.
Mm-hmm.
So what should be like the best way for the parents to guide their children in a way that it does not harm children faith, or they may get adverse when they grow up against Krishna consciousness. So
Right,
what should be the
basically-
right approach as a parent, so that whatever they are doing, so, and even if sometimes it may, like as a parent may think that my devotional life is I'm not getting the way I want. So sometimes a parent also has to sacrifice so many things.
Yeah.
As far as devotion is concerned, just considering that if I behave continuously in a way which what I want, but
Mhm.
that may
Not be best for the child.
yes, because they also have expectation as a from father, from mother.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah,
you
so
have
I
to be
understand,
like
bro.
in a balanced approach.
Yeah.
So can you
And
just guide what is the best way to have that balanced approach, so that whatever, like, because ultimately what you said is that their own samskars which will help them, they may take Krishna consciousness in a very, sometimes children may take in a very positive way,
Mhm.
and sometimes they may not take in very fast, but gradually they are taking, and when they grow up and they have their own lives, so
Mhm.
those impressions are there. Because I have many friends who started Krishna consciousness sometime 10 years back, but they left in between.
Mhm.
And now they again call me, we want your association, Prabhuji. We are like frustrated with all these material things, because somehow, somewhere or the other, they had those impressions.
Yeah, I
So,
understand, bro. So basically,
yeah, so
I would say, I mean, I'm not the best person to comment on this. Maybe someone like Leela Manjari Mataji or others, they have successfully, brought up children in a nice Krishna conscious way. They are more qualified to answer this question. but I would say, at least we should not compromise um, whatever as regular children that they may expect. We should not make them compromise. I remember reading, um, the book Shama O Shama. I mean, I don't know, most of you might not know about this book. It was about um, Janwa Mataji's second daughter, Sham Sundari Mataji, who passed away many years back. So in that, it is described about how Janwa Mataji used to, because they had taken up to Krishna consciousness newly, and they went to very nice schools where children would come from opulent family, and they would you know purchase things from outside, cakes and pastries and everything. So Janma Mataji would make go out of her way to cook very very wonderful items, very delicious items, uh, at home only, offer it to Krishna and send it to them. So they never felt, in one sense, like deprived. So she went out of the way to ensure that the children have a very, not only get prasadam, but get prasadam which is like really wonderful, and they don't feel in any sense deprived. And at home also, she used to go out of her way to keep them entertained in a very nice way, in a very jolly way, uh, and which could be simultaneously Krishna conscious also. And eventually what happened, the children ended up becoming, in one sense, like much more Krishna conscious than the parents also. So so I mean, there are many many cases. I know only bits and pieces, but people who have practically done it in their own houses, there are many many wonderful examples. So I am sure they can share. So, but main thing is, Prabhuji, children need parents' time, and their affection, and most importantly, a non-judgmental approach. They should not see that if I practice Krishna consciousness, then they are more affectionate to me, and if I don't practice Krishna consciousness, they are not affectionate to me. When children start seeing that, then they will see that for my parents, Krishna consciousness is more important than my own happiness. So they will start seeing it like that. So in an absolutely non-judgmental approach,
Basically unconditional.
yeah, non-judgmental approach, time and affection. So when this children get, I think there is a very very good possibility that they will have a very good experience growing up, and there is a good chance that they may take up to Krishna consciousness and practice Krishna consciousness also.
Very, 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 very wonderful, Prabhuji. Thank you so very much for your
Thank you.
very wonderful answers. I'm truly grateful to you.
Very good. Anything else before we move on to discuss from Bhaktya Loka? So we are going to discuss from Bhaktya Loka some points about Prajalpa. So Srinivas Prasad Prabhu, again I am unmuting you.
Hare
Yes,
Krishna, Prabhuji, you in between you said about that Varna Ashram, and that can you just again throw some light on that?
What about
Following-
Varna Ashram, Prabhu?
In between this verse only, you discussed that Varna Ashram is not that important in a way.
No, I mean, I said, in the second verse, Nadarmam Nadarmam Shrutigana Niruktam Kilakuru. In that verse, he says change of paradigm. He does not say don't practice Varnashram. He says don't think in terms of whether it is dharma or adharma. Start thinking in terms of whether this is going to please Krishna or displease Krishna. So the change of paradigm is what we were discussing.
Correct.
Hmm?
Yes, got it, Prabhuji.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. So if there are no further comments, questions, discussions, then I will just move on. We will discuss, we'll start discussing. Of course, we won't have time to completely discuss today from Bhaktyaloka. So this is, first I'll tell what is this Bhaktyaloka. This Bhaktyaloka is a series of essays that Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur wrote in Sajjana Toshani or Gaudiya, one of those two magazines which Gaudiya Math was essays, right? Based on verse of so he wrote on Atyahara Prayasascha Prajalpo Niyamagraha Janasangascha Laulyamcha. These 6, and then Utsahan Nischaya Dairya Tattat Karma Pravartana Tyagat Sato Vritte. So these 6. So 6 plus 6 items, different essays. The Gaudiya Math devotees compiled these 12 essays into a book and they named the book as Bhaktyaloka. So it was not written in the form of a book by Bhaktivinoda Thakur originally. These were articles written in Sajjana Toshani, which subsequently the Gaudiya Math devotees compiled it in the form of one book. So this is an essay on Prajalpa. So ideally, if you see that according to Bhaktivinoda Thakur's definition of Prajalpa in the Bhajan Darpan commentary of Manasiksha, ideally we should be discussing about Atyahara Prayasascha Prajalpa Niyamagraha Janasanga and Laulyam. 6 items. But that would end up, that would mean we will be end up doing one another book only. So which will take another 6 months. So I'll not try to do that. But at least I think it is relevant to discuss about Prajalpa, where he gives very, very key insights into what Prajalpa is and how we should endeavor to overcome this Prajalpa, the tendency for Prajalpa. So, Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that, just hold on. Yeah, Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, talking with one another is called Jalpana or Prajalpa. So Prajalpa in itself does not have a negative connotation. Prajalpa means when two people come together and talk, that is called as Prajalpa, right? But over a period of time, words develop a negative connotation. Like say, for example, Grihamedi. So Grihamedi does not necessarily have a negative connotation. So Grihamedi means householder. That's what it means. Actually, there is a verse that is glorifying Lord Ramachandra, especially now Ram Navami is coming. So there is a verse that is glorifying Lord Ramachandra where it is mentioned, Namas Sita Sametaya Ramaya Grihamedine. To of Mother Sita as a Grihamedi. So now you'll say, my God, what is this? The Lord Ramachandra is called a Grihamedi, Mother Sita and Lord Ramachandra. See, actually, Grihamedi means a householder. But many times when words are used in conjunction with other words, like when the word Grihamedi is used in conjunction with the word Grihastha, so then it takes a negative connotation. Then Grihamedi becomes becomes a negative. It takes up a negative connotation. But Grihamedi in itself does not have a negative connotation. It has a neutral connotation. It just means householder, that's all. Similarly, Prajalpa also, when used in conjunction with Krishna Katha, When you say, do you want to do Krishna Katha or Prajalpa? So there Prajalpa means, you know, nonsense talking, right? But Prajalpa in general has a neutral connotation. It just means a conversation, that's all, right? So Bhaktivinoda Thakur starts with that meaning of Prajalpa, and later he explains the that which has that negative connotation. Talking with one another is called as Jalpana or Prajalpa. Nowadays, in this world, godlessness is so prominent that conversing with other means godless talk. This is how the negative connotation of the word Prajalpa has come up. So Prabhupada Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, nowadays the world has become so godless that anything you in general you talk, it is generally godless talk only. Therefore, that is Prajalpa. Prajalpa means godless talk. Therefore, it is not profitable for a practicing devotee to engage in Jalpana or Prajalpa. Prajalpa, of course, here he has given the negative meaning. There can, however, be many kinds of Jalpana in the cultivation of devotional service. So there could be positive Prajalpa, negative Prajalpa. They are all auspicious for the devotees. So those which help the cultivation of devotional service are called as positive or favorable Prajalpa, right? Srila Rupa Goswami has written in his Karpanya Panjika Stotra. I mean, those of you, I have never heard that he has written such a stotra, but I mean, yes, but apparently he has written a stotra called Karpanya Panjika Stotra, in which he says, Tatapyasmin kadachit Vamadishau Nama Jalpini Avadya Vrinda Nistari Nama Basau Prasidatam. So, instead of giving a direct translation to this verse, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur has written a Bengali verse which essentially describes the meaning of this verse. So he says, Tatapi e dina jane yadi nama ucharane nama basa karila jivane sarva dosha nivarana dohu nama sanjalpana prasade prasida doi jane. So what is the meaning of this? While chanting the holy name of the Lord, if a wretched person in his lifetime achieves namabas or a glimpse of offenseless chanting, then all his faults are destroyed and their lordships become pleased with him. So he gives one example of a Krishna conscious Prajalpa is endeavoring to chant the holy name without offenses. So this is one Krishna conscious form of Prajalpa, he is telling. Kirtan, offering prayers and reciting the scriptures are all Jalpana. But when these are performed with a favorable mood and devoid of material desire, then they are all cultivation of Krishna consciousness. If they are Anyabhilashita, Shunyam and Jnana Karma Dhyanavritam, then it is Uttama Bhakti. So this kind of Jalpana is very favorable, he says, or Prajalpa. Therefore, the conclusion is this: all Prajalpas that are unfavorable to Krishna's service are adverse to devotional service. So there is unfavorable Prajalpa and there is favorable Prajalpa. So favorable Prajalpa is Krishna Katha. Unfavorable Prajalpa is what we generally term as Prajalpa, is actually unfavorable Prajalpa. The practitioner should carefully give up Prajalpa. There is no fault in the activities of the Mahajanas. So, because we see, actually people should keep quiet, right? Otherwise they will end up involving in godly talk, worldly talk, someone may say. So he says, no, the Mahajans don't get together to discuss worldly news. They discuss Krishna Katha. So he says the Mahajans have respectfully engaged in Prajalpa, which means favorable to devotional service, and this is our only duty. The kind of Prajalpa that the Mahajans indulge in, which is favorable Prajalpa, that is our aspiration and goal of life, right? Sometimes puffed up devotees advise that all types of Prajalpa should be given up. All types of Prajalpa means all types of conversations, which means they indicate that one should be Mauna Vrata. Their understanding of a very exalted sadhu is, hey, Mauni Baba. If he is a Mauni Baba, he should be very, very exalted. But this is not the teaching of Srimad Bhagavatam. So Srimad Bhagavatam says that, what is that verse? Teachings of the four Kumaras to Prithu Maharaj. In that they say that Vivikta Ruchya Paritosha Atmani Vina Harer Guna Piyusha Panat. So this is the verse. This comes in the 4th canto, 22nd chapter, but I don't remember the verse number. So the verse is Vivikta Ruchya Paritosha Atmani Vina Harer Guna Piyusha Panat. This is the verse. So Vivikta Ruchya, one should develop a taste for living alone. Paritosha Atmani, and while having taste for solitary living and Mauna Vrata. So one should live alone, one should develop a taste for living alone and living a life of Mauna Vrata. Vina Harer Guna Piyusha Panat. Only till one develops a taste for discussing Krishna Katha. If one has absolutely no taste for discussing Krishna Katha, then he should try to live alone. But once he has developed taste for discussing Krishna Katha, he should not live alone, but he should live with like-minded, affectionate devotees discussing Krishna Katha actually. Right? So it is 4.22.23, 23rd verse. So Vivikta Ruchya Paritosha Atmani Vina Harer Guna Piyusha Panat. So he says, but we are followers of Srila Rupa Goswami. Being followers of Rupa Goswami, we will always stick to the path shown by the sadhus who are following his instructions. So whatever instructions Rupa Goswami and his followers have shown us, that is the path that we will follow. In the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, as quoted from the Skanda Puran, it is said, Samrugya Shreyasam Hetuhu Panta Santapa Varjita Anavapta Shramam Purve Yena Santaha Pratastire. He says, one should follow the scriptural rules which give the highest benefit and are devoid of hardship, by which the previous devotees easily progressed. Basically, this is that Mahajano Yena Gatasya Panta. We should follow the path that the great Mahajans had followed, right? So, if they have engaged in Mauna Vrata, we also engage in Mauna Vrata. If they have engaged in coming together and discussing Krishna Katha, we also engage in coming together and discussing Krishna Katha. So basically, we follow their actions and words. We don't whimsically try to do anything, right? Our Mahajan's path is that which was shown by Srila Vyasadev, Srila Shukadev Goswami, Prahlad Maharaj, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his associates, right? Vyasadev profusely wrote and profusely spoke. Shukadev Goswami also profusely spoke. In fact, he is the one who has perfected bhakti through the process of Kirtanam. Prahlad Maharaj continuously spoke even at the cost of risking his own life. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu continuously chanted and taught to Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, Swarup Damodar Goswami, Ramananda Rai, Srila Haridas Thakur, right? And all his associates followed the same path. They didn't do Mauna Vrata at all. So we are not to leave aside that path to follow the instructions of some new puffed up devotees, right? If someone comes up with some new philosophy, we are not going to follow that. Our path has been very well chalked out by our acharyas. So we don't want to follow any new age philosophy. All the Mahajans have respected that Prajalpa which nourishes devotion to Lord Hari. So they have respected, they have accepted and followed. We will discuss this in the appropriate place. What is that Krishna Katha? So this will be discussed in the discussion on Sato Vritti, the 12th essay. Sangatyagat Sato Vritte Shadbir Bhaktir Prasiddhyati. So the 12th essay, this will be discussed. But we will not have time to discuss it in this forum. Maybe in some other forum, we can discuss it. So, godless Prajalpas are impediments to devotional service. They are of many types. What are the different types of godless Prajalpa? He says 8 types of godless Prajalpa. First, useless talks. We will discuss about each of these types. Useless talks, arguments, gossips, debates, fault finding in others, speaking falsehoods, blaspheming devotees, and worldly talk. So he is talking about 8 different types of Prajalpa. So we will discuss about all these 8 one by one. We will start this discussion today, but we will continue this discussion next Tuesday, right? So useless talks. So what is useless talks? He says useless talk is extremely detrimental, which means pointless. I mean, it could be something like as good as what is happening in election or whatever it may be. So, something like that. So practicing devotees should discuss topics of Lord Hari in the association of other devotees and remember Hari's name, form, qualities and pastimes in a secluded place without uselessly wasting time. So we don't have time to do all these kinds of useless talk. So practicing devotees should come together with other devotees in a secluded place, means where it is secluded from the association of materialistic people and materialistic influence. That is the meaning of secluded place. So he says in the Bhagavad Gita it is said, Aham sarvasya prabhavo mattas sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajante mam buddha bhava samanvita. So he says, Krishna says, Aham sarvasya prabhavaha. I am the source of everything. Mattah sarvam pravartate. And the whole world is functioning because of me. Iti matva. One who is convinced of this knowledge, buddhaha, is an intelligent person. What is that? What does that intelligent person do? Bhava samanvita mam bhajante. Mam bhajante, they worship me, bhava samanvita, with great love. Right? So he says that a person convinced of this knowledge of the supremacy of Krishna, otherwise someone may say that, yeah, I accept Krishna as the supreme, but the proof of that such a conviction is loving devotional service. Right? Bhava samanvita mam bhajante. With great love, they worship me. So, how is this worship followed? How does one practice this worship? In the next verse, he says, Machitta madgata prana bodhayanta parasparam katayantascha mam nityam tushyanti cha ramanti cha. Machitta. Machitta means their minds are greedy for Krishna. As we saw, Tatra laulyam api mulyam ekalam janma koti sukritairna labhyate. One should have that kind of greed for attaining Krishna, and that greed is available only in the association of devotees. With Machitta, with minds greedy for me, Madgata Prana. Madgata Prana refers to they being completely dependent on Krishna. Right? So, Machitta refers to Anyabhilashita Shunyam. Right? Because naturally, one is naturally inspired to meditate on the goal, Prayojan. Because the goal of devotees is Krishna, therefore they are Machitta. Right? And Madgata Prana, dependence on Krishna, means Jnana Karmadi Anavritam. Right? They are dependent on Krishna means they are dependent on the process of Navada Bhakti only, and not Jnana, Karma, Yoga, etc. So, Machitta Madgata Prana indicates actually Anyabhilashita Shunyam, Jnana Karmadi Anavritam. Right? And then what do? Bodhayanta Parasparam. Bodhayanta Parasparam means if there is another devotee who can speak, then they hear. Or if there is another devotee who can hear, then they speak about Krishna. Then what is this Katayantascha? If there is no second devotee, they spontaneously sing the glories of Krishna. So if there is a person to hear, they speak. If there is a person to speak, they hear. If there is no second person, they spontaneously sing the glories of Krishna. In this way, Nityam, Tushyanti cha Ramanti cha, they continuously experience satisfaction and enjoyment. Right? So this is actually how, this is the meaning of Bhava Samanvita Mam Bhajante. This is the meaning of Bhava Samanvita Bhajan, worshipping Krishna with love. Right? So, and if one engages in this way, this is the proof that in his heart, the supremacy of Krishna is firmly rooted. If he is convinced of the supremacy of Krishna, then the symptoms are Machitta Madgata Prana Bodhayanta Parasparam Katayantascha Mam Nityam Tushyanti cha Ramanti cha. Right? So, okay. Now, and also in Gita it says, Satatam Kirtayanto Mam Yatantascha Dhridavrataha Namasyantascha Mam Bhaktya Nityayukta Upasate. So, in the 9th chapter 14th verse also it mentions about the activities of a pure devotee. So it says, Satatam Mam Upasate. They worship Krishna at all times. Bhaktya means with devotion. So they worship Krishna at all times with devotion. How? Kirtayanto. Either they sing about Krishna or Dhridavrataha. They follow strict vows like Ekadashi and trying to avoid sense gratification for pleasing Krishna. And why they are doing all these things? Nitya Yukta. because they desire, they have a deep desire to become an eternal associate of Krishna. They want to establish an eternal relationship with Krishna. So because of that desire, they are engaged in singing the glories of Krishna, following vows which may please Krishna, and namasyantascha mam bhaktya, and they also offer respects to Krishna, and they also perform other devotional acts which may please Krishna. So one of these things is happening satatam, always, continuously, right? So continuous, of course, I think we discussed this last time. So continuous for a devotee, we saw this pie chart, right? For a devotee, continuous means one of the three things, right? First is engagement in pure devotional activities. He is directly engaged in pure devotional activities. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atmanivedanam. Right? If it is not possible, he is engaged in planning to enhance his devotional service. So either he is directly engaged in performing devotional service, or he is planning to further enhance his practice of devotional service, or third, he is engaged in firefighting. Firefighting means dealing with obstacles which may act as a hindrance to his continuous practice of pure devotional service, like lust, anger, envy, greed, illusion, pride, desire for puja, labh, pratishta, distracted mind. So dealing with them, firefighting with them, and try to fix them. So constantly firefighting means he is trying to deal with them and try to move to either one or two. Okay, so satatam for a sadhaka, especially if till he crosses anartha, the stage of anartha nivritti is 1 plus 2 plus 3, right? Either he should be engaged directly in performing pure devotional service, or he should be engaged in planning to enhance his pure devotional service, or he should be sincerely engaged in dealing with those obstacles, which means he may succumb sometime to lust, anger, envy, greed, illusion, pride, but he is sincerely trying to push himself up, get up, and try to move towards either one or two. So satatam for a sadhaka, at least before he reaches nishta, is 1 plus 2 plus 3. And as and when one progresses in devotional service, 1 and 2 increases and 3 decreases. And when one reaches very high stages of asakti, bhava and prema, then 3 completely vanishes and it is just 1 and 2. Right? So like that. So Bhagavad Gita says, Machitta Madgata Prana Bodhayanta Parasparam Katayantascha Mam Nityam Tushyanti Taramanticha. It also says Satatam Kirtayanto Mam Yatantascha Dridavrataha Namasyantascha Mam Bhaktya Nitya Yukta Upasate. In this way, the practicing devotee should cultivate unalloyed devotion. So he should cultivate unalloyed devotion. If they spend their days and nights uselessly talking with materialists, then the Lord's instruction of always chanting my glories will not be followed. Right? So then, instead of engaging in 1, 2 or 3, they will be engaging in 4, which is directly actually taking one away from Krishna consciousness. Sometimes due to our past vasanas, we may succumb to certain activities of which are unfavorable for our progress in Krishna consciousness. But we should not willingly take time to engage in all of that, right? So, so therefore, what constitutes useless talk? This topic we will start discussing from next Tuesday onwards. So maybe next week also we will end up discussing from Bhakti Aloka only, but I think it's very relevant, so we will continue with this discussion. So we have another few minutes left before we wind up for the day. If there are any final comments, questions, discussions before we wind up for the day, so you can please raise your hands. We will take for a few minutes. Madhavi Gopi Mataji, I am unmuting you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, Mataji.
Prabhuji, as the current topic is very prevalent about corona and things like that, different vaccines are coming and different vaccines have different potencies and like that. So as a doctor, as also, and as a one of the consumer of those things also, I mean sometimes feel that yes, I should listen to what the expert opinions are or things like that. So whether these are counted as prejudice.
I mean, you can only answer, Mataji. I mean, you know whether you are overdoing it or you're um, or not. So, I mean, we don't have to listen to it like a running commentary, but once in a while, you are keeping a little bit learning the updates as to which is the best vaccine and all that. I think it's, or if you have some connections with trustworthy people who can finally tell you, yeah, this is good, this is not good. So, I mean, if you are looking to minimize the time spent in that direction while staying in touch with trustworthy people who can quickly reveal the information to you, then it is good. Otherwise, if we end up spending too much time, then yeah, only the individual, you can only answer, how much is necessary, how much is not.
Yeah. Like means not very much which will disturb the regular sadhana and sevas, but just to to keep update what is going.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, Prabhu. Thank you. Prabhu.
Leela Manjari Mataji, I am unmuting you, Mataji.
Rohit, just a small clarification. In Krishna consciousness, actions and intentions both are very important. So our intentions do matter. Na? Krishna will see our intentions also. Na?
Yeah, he will definitely see your intentions. Yeah.
The actions may look little deceiving sometimes.
Okay. Now, if the actions are looking really deceiving to many people, then better consult with some senior devotees to see. I mean, my intention is right, but please evaluate my actions also if because many people seem to get disturbed if it is like that. Then there is always good to seek some guidance from a trustworthy senior devotee to see, because other people's faith is also important. It should not affect other people's faith also.
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you. Hare Krishna. So I think we will end our discussion here, and thank you all very much for your patient listening. So we will continue this discussion next Tuesday. So please try to join next Tuesday and give your association. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Raghunath Das Goswami Pad ki jai, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur ki jai, Manas Siksha ki jai. Hare Krishna. Dandavad.